Welcome to DreamHack Tonight, episode 5. I am Justin Burnham, and fun fact for you, I used to dabble in the film industry prior to the games for years, and I was working on Marmaduke with Owen Wilson, some great people, and I had to stop what I was doing to babysit his dog, Garcia. So I was a dog sitter for one day for Owen Wilson. So that was an interesting day.
That's awesome. I'm Alex Jebailey. I used to walk dogs for like $2 a day back in eighth grade, and I was an extra in Sharknado 3. There's my Hollywood reference.
No wonder that movie was the worst.
All of them were the worst.
So games, man, what are you playing this week? I'm still in Ghost of Tsushima. I can't stop playing it. It's such a long game, so much to do. So I know I said this last week, but I still can't stop. So
It takes a lot for me to get addicted to a role-playing game, but Paper Mario, the Origami King, has been taking up all my time. It's the first game I've ever just streamed in my personal time on my channel, just stream with the people in it, and people come back like, don't skip any parts. I want to watch it. So it's been addicting. It's a long game. I'm like 25 hours in, so it's been worth the money, and probably the biggest title this year for Nintendo. So I've been having fun with that. And then all Xbox, the rest of it's just seeing what Xbox had in store.
oh yeah, new games, new games, new games. I mean, rather than actually divide our news amongst various bits of news, all the news was Xbox. So we're gonna go over just a bunch of various Xbox news today. So the showcase just happened, and we saw some amazing content. And we would, there's no reason we should open up with anything besides Halo Infinite. So Halo Infinite, my God, I mean, it was a beautiful to look at. It was,
Sounds
highly anticipated.
amazing.
I'm a big Halo guy, and I know you are too. I mean, I played every single one. I like every Halo for different reasons. I even liked Halo 4 too and Halo 5, I mean, so I'm big fans of it. The only I know it's been mixed reactions, and I'm in that same camp. While I think it looks beautiful in terms of the sheen, the graphics, stuff like that, I'm looking for innovation, and I didn't see much. Open world, grappling hook. I mean, they didn't show everything, but what about you?
I like the grappling hook, right? I think it's almost a cop out mechanic to just like speed up the
Mhm.
gameplay, but I thought it was great. It sounded amazing. Like I was really paying attention to the sounds, sound design especially, and it sounded great. But yeah, I go on the internet, people were literally showing like HD versions of part 3, claiming it looked better than this. But I thought it looked fine. The biggest takeaway was they showed it on playing on a PC, not even their newest, console coming out, Xbox Series X. So that kind of confused people on why they wouldn't show it on their next system that it was probably originally built for. But it's also good news because this is the first Halo as a brand new Halo
Right.
coming to PC at the same time. So my takeaway is, people are expecting it. The multiplayer I was kind of hoping to see, but they told us it was just single players. So I think they have a lot more in store.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
Yeah, and it's Halo. You're gonna play it at least when it comes out if you're an Xbox fan, and just the fact that it's gonna be free for Game Pass owners out of the gate is gonna be a big deal, which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then,
that was what it was for me. It was just the innovation wasn't there, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, it's what, the sixth Halo or seventh after a couple spin-offs. How much more can they do? Then they ended, that with a big announcement by saying we have one more thing, and it was more of a CG trailer, but Fable is finally coming back. They've had a couple of them. They had Fable Legends. It's a great RPG. People like the character designs, the fun of it. But the announcement itself was basically just a CG trailer where right away I'm like, am I watching the Shrek 4D ride at Universal where the frog eats the fairy? But everyone got excited about it. Nobody knows why they're excited about Fable, but I still think it's a great RPG. As an Xbox exclusive, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, you know what? Because it's just the fact that now we have proof that it exists. I was actually more excited for this than Halo. I'm a huge Fable 1, 2, 3 guy. I mean, I played so many times, all those games, and I remember when Fable 1 came out. Yes, I was a teenager, so that was a long time ago. But I didn't even do the game that much because it was one of the first games that you could really do, like, a married and have kids and all that kind of. I mean, I was just like, "Oh, let's try to do all this family thing," and then I had a real family, and I'm like, "Oh, wah, wah, wah." And it's like
Those
but,
poor kids.
moving on to some of the other games I actually was more excited about than Fable and Halo, if you can believe that, there was a lot of sequels, like a lot of properties that we know and love, Psychonauts and stuff like that, Hellblade. My personal 2 favorite, this is my favorite, is State of Decay. I actually love State of Decay 1. I love State of Decay 2, even though it got some kind of backlash various ways, and I get it. A lot of people said it was State of Decay 1.5, but State of Decay 3, I'm excited about. There's so much potential there, but what stole it from me was Stalker 2. I don't know, did you ever play the other ones?
I did not, and after you were
Oh,
telling me about it and the challenge level, I got to go back and definitely play Stalker because that trailer looked amazing. And State of Decay at first looked like a Metro Exodus game. I'm like, what is this? Like a lot of these trailers they played, I'm like, I know this, and like, no, I don't know this. The big one for me, Hellblade. Amazing opening trailer when they first showed it off, so people were getting excited for that. But Psychonauts 2. Now this was announced 4 years ago with a Kickstarter, a very successful Kickstarter that raised like 3.8 million, and their goal was 3.3. But Ori, at first we thought it was new Ori, but they're just showcasing the power of the Xbox Series X and showing that they're redoing Ori and Will o' the Wisps in 4K, 60 frames per second. And it was awesome that they did a comparison video showing you, because when you play the game now, it looks beautiful. You don't ask for more out of it. You're just like, this
right.
is amazing. But
Yeah.
then when they show you it upgraded, like I was kind of blown away again, and I would definitely play it just to see the fidelity differences and stuff. But I thought, overall they let in strong, and then they surprisingly, I always joke, or a lot of people say PlayStation has the exclusives, but they came out with some good ones, and some are cross, console. But I'm kind of excited for some of these ones that they announced were new IPs, and people got excited.
Like,
And
what was your favorite ones for the new IPs? I mean, for me, it was like so some standouts for me is Avowed. They didn't show much from Avowed, but I love Obsidian RPGs. That's
yeah,
just I mean, I there's not a game that
it
I
looked
haven't
like a
enjoyed that they've done.
Skyrim 2 to me, but yeah, it looks beautiful.
The Warhammer game, I mean, I'm a Warhammer fan, but they did Vermintide. It's the same team behind that, and Everwild. Everwild looked
Yeah.
beautiful, for
Gorgeous
Rare.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I saw the Rare thing, in my mind, I'm like a new fighting game, Killer Instinct or something. But what you call Everwild is the one that kind of stole the show for me. Beautiful looking game. It reminds you of Ori and that kind of that
Mhm.
design. But a lot of these games, like you want to see realism, and you expect like a whole new level of photorealistic images. But Everwild itself looked gorgeous in the design that they were using. So I was kind of impressed. I came in expecting just Halo, Forza. They showed off Forza. I'm a huge racing game fan, but how much more can you really improve racing games in
Yeah.
terms of besides the quality, right? I kind of think they're a good test of what a new console can look like. But having them show off some indie games from Indie at Xbox, overall, I think they just did awesome. And I'm actually excited. And the fact that the big one, talking about that all of these, they confirmed it will be playable on Xbox Game Pass. And
Yeah,
just
that's
how
awesome.
incredible of a deal. Like I rave about this. Me personally, I spend more time on my PlayStation. I spend more time on my Switch, but every week I'm just like, I got nothing to play. Let me go on Xbox Game Pass, and just so much content that they're throwing at you. And the
Mhm.
fact that they sometimes come out with new games, but the fact that all these will be out of the gate on Xbox Game Pass. Now, will they raise the price? Who knows? But I think I pay like $45 for every 3 months. It's amazing. It's basically becoming the Netflix of gaming, and it's going to kind of change the game. And I think PlayStation and even Nintendo hopefully will have to kind of catch up and create more of the same of what
Yep.
Xbox is doing, because this is such a great way to go. Hey, buy the system, and out of the box, you're going to have like 100 different games you can be playing.
Yeah, it has some great features. I mean, the Game Pass is something I have no problems at all paying monthly. I think that's great. I hope PlayStation Now catches up to it so I can do that with I mean, there's some obviously some things I need to catch up on regarding that. And then the smart delivery concept of the features of the Xbox is great where you buy this on the Xbox One, then you're able to actually transfer it to Xbox Series, so I mean, they're coming out with some great features. And the one thing I love about Game Pass is that they're not shy about the indies too. They're bringing some indies in there and giving a lot of indie love. And on our indie heartbeat segment today, coming up here is Axiom Verge 2. Axiom Verge 2 is a fantastic, fantastic property that's coming out towards the end of the year. If you're not familiar with the Axiom Verge franchise, get familiar. Great story, great pixel art done by one solo developer. It's just impressive on a lot of things. Definitely references Metroid days and the Contra days. And we have a clip showing off the Axiom Verge 2 trailer coming right here. So that's coming later this year. Definitely one of the most anticipated indies. You're a retro guy. I'm sure you love this franchise.
Oh yeah.
And with that, let's bring in Tom Happ and Dan Edelman. Welcome to the show. Thanks for making the time. I know you guys are busy working on Axiom Verge too, and so I apologize if this came in during any kind of milestone time frame, but I'm super happy that you're here. So on Axiom Verge 2, you know, obviously the game is very, very loved. The first one came out to such great recognition in 2015, and Metroid was an obvious influence. I mean, I grew up in Metroid. I was born in 1980, so I grew up with a lot of the Nintendo generation. And when I see games like this using those influences, I get super, super excited. How did you come up with the unique premise of Axiom Verge? Like, what other games helped pave this path? Because the story is phenomenal too. So what were the influences outside of the obvious one, like Metroid?
So, I mean, really, well, you have to bear in mind, one, that it was a hobby for me at the time. I was working full time at Petroglyph Games, and so I was really just thinking, I want to make the ultimate video game, and I was trying to include all of my favorite influences in there. Um, you know, Metroid being one, Blaster Master, Bionic Commando, um, and just like variety of others, NES games primarily. Contra, I think
Mhm.
a lot of people pick up on. Also, various side-scrolling shoot 'em up games.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you guys. I actually have still in box the limited edition Switch version, which I never knew until way down the road. I had the map of the game in there to help me out. But it's a curious question because a lot of the weapons manipulate the environment, so it almost feels like you have to reverse engineer, like create these weapons. What kind of and it changes the game right from the usual Metroidvania spell. Like, what motivated you to make those crazy weapons inside the game? Like, what was your inspirations for those?
So I guess the main philosophy behind it was that the world of the game is it's not just made of tiles because I'm trying to emulate technology limitations and be nostalgic. It's made of tiles because the tiles are a very important way of telegraphing the physical nature of the world. Um, that it's made of bricks, and each brick can either be broken or be glitched or do something else. And so everything really revolves around that kind of premise that every brick could hide a secret. And the weapons and abilities and things they're there to augment that. So you have some weapons that can drill through the bricks. You have some that can teleport past, like one level, one thickness of bricks, two thickness of bricks. Um, and there's some that are meant to go around them or go through them. So that's the main driving force behind the weapons. And then there's a lot of like secondary weapons that aren't important for progression of the game, but they're there more just to give you some variety. And a lot of those weapons are kind of inspired by the crazy weapons that you find in side-scrolling shooters, where they're basically not something other than just the generic straightforward pea shooter. That's why there's a lot of things that they're heat seeking, or they branch out, they're branching lasers, or they shoot once and then shoot more things out of the bullets that you already shot. And that kind of gets its inspiration mostly from shoot 'em ups, I think.
Nice. And then, so what was your favorite weapon from the first one, and any kind of new weapon or something you can talk about from the second that you're looking forward to?
So the first game, man,
Hmm.
I hate to be really simple, but probably the flamethrower is, the most, it's the most fun one for me. But I think the one that was most interesting for me to design was one of the ones that shoots bullets off of other bullets. I was really proud of that one. And so there's two of them that do that. One is the Nova, And then there's another one that's called the hypoatomizer, which my wife named that one because I couldn't think of a name.
That's actually really good. Now you locked her in the game, so that's actually really good. You know, I'm sure she appreciates that. You know, now it's a forever thing, right?
Yes,
Um,
forever. Here
um,
here she is.
Aw.
Yeah, my wife.
And by the way, I owe the world an apology because when I think for a while I was the only playtester on the game, and I made the comment to Tom that the flamethrower was just really OP because like originally you got it through the normal progression of the game, and once you got that, like you could just kill everything pretty quickly, and like the final boss battle was a cinch. And so I mentioned that to Tom, and he hit it very, very well. It's actually really hard to find, especially if you don't like look for like game packs or something like that to find where to find it and how to get it. So but it's worth the effort. If you go back and you hunt down that item, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I
agree.
apologize to the world for telling Tom that it was too overpowered, which it was, but yeah.
I agree, but it's a great weapon. I mean, the bullet from a bullet too. That was a great weapon too. That was so cool how just seeing that actually happen. Jumping to like a question on development time, I'm very curious. So in terms of like development time for the first one, and correct me if I'm wrong, was around 4 to 5 years, and now you're looking at for 4 to 5 years from this one. What have you learned from part one to part two? You know, we always learn from the things that we do, right? So from that development time to this development time, what are the things that you've learned from the first one?
Oh man, so many things. I think in the first one, I made a lot of good choices without realizing just how good they were. For example, just by choosing, I made it. I had a limitation where I said every tile will have 3 colors, black and transparent, as the options for the colors. And then for the next game, I was like, oh, I'll increase the colors. But increase something as simple as increasing the colors and also increasing the number of tile transitions that kind of go between one tile type and another and make it look more varied. That increased development time so much just doing that thing. And it's funny, in the sequel, I have some environments that are more basic, like the Axiom Verge 1 environments, and some that are more complex, like what you've seen in the trailer for Axiom Verge 2. And the ones that are basic, they're so much faster to make. It's ridiculous. I'll go in there. I'll be like, well, it took me the last level. It took me like however many weeks to put together the whole design. Oops, dropped my audio interface. And then I would go and do the next one, but because it had less colors and simpler tiles in it, it would take like a couple of days or something. It'd be like a factor of like 5 times faster or something. So that's one thing. And another thing is for this kind of game, I feel like I wanted to make the enemies more intelligent. So I went through a lot of effort to create like a vision system and create better pathfinding and that sort of thing. And sort of what I discovered was that creating that complicated of an NPC for you to fight, it takes a lot of time. And in the end, it almost doesn't matter because the areas in a 2D game like this, it's so much different from like a 3D open world game where,
Right.
if it's like, I don't want to say Assassin's Creed, let's say Ghosts of Tsushima, where you have all these opportunities for stealth and there's so many places to hide and run away. In a 2D side scroller, it takes so much of that out that it almost is not at all helpful to have the enemies have that degree of intelligence. And I sort of found that having this simpler enemies but more interesting variety of them, it might actually be better for this kind of game. it's not, no one rule can govern everything, but that was really surprising to me when I sort of discovered, I could spend a month making a really intelligent enemy that follows you everywhere and terrifies you to death and can kill you easily, or I could spend a day making, or I could spend 30 days making 30 enemies, that are really simple but add a lot of flavor and character to the world, and each one could be completely different, and that was kind of like a hard lesson for me to learn in the beginning of development of this game.
One of the things that Alex actually loved is the speedrun mode, right, Alex?
Oh yeah. So, not many games have that included out of the box. Like one of the first games I remember having one was Shadow of the Colossus, had like a time attack mode against all the bosses for the Colossi. So when I turned on your game for the first time, it basically had speedrun mode right there, and the speedrunning community is huge. What kind of inspired that? Are you a fan of speedrunning? Why was that added?
Yeah, it was basically because while I was developing Axiom Verge, I was very much looking at other games and just trying to get an idea, refresh my memory. I didn't want to replay through Super Metroid over and over and over again. And so I would go online and look up long plays, and then speed runs were an awesome way to basically see really fast the entirety of a game. And the more I went through it, the more I was like, this is really awesome that people do this. So I at first I thought it was really cool, and then I think it was when I was applying for the Sony platform, before I was accepted into their indie pub fund. One of the things that they wanted was to know, like, does your game have any special, features that can take advantage of PlayStation 4 hardware? And in my mind, I'm like, this is a game that's supposed to be like an NES type of game. How, like, what is the PlayStation 4 going to do for it? But the PlayStation 4 actually had that sharing ability, and I was like, one thing we could do is have speedrun be a thing, and people can share their results of the speed run. So that's what I said, and I don't know if that influenced their decision one way or the other, but that kind of solidified its presence in the game.
Yeah, it definitely grew into a community for sure. So one thing I have to ask, right? When we're talking about Axiom Verge, I'm a fan myself. I reached out to talk to you about this because Axiom Verge 2 is one of the highest anticipated games in the indie circuit for sure. You have Axiom 2, you have Rogue Legacy, you have all these different sequels that have really made a mark in the indie space, and Axiom Verge is one of them. So in closing, what can you tell us about part 2, if anything? I mean, you might not be able to tell it. I might be adding a loaded question. Beyond the trailer, what can you tell us about part 2? Maybe not.
I will say there's more than what it appears at first glance. Is one thing I can say. I see Dan is looking around.
And Dan, yeah, I can tell Dan was like, I don't know if I can say anything, but
just wink twice.
I think one thing that will be important for people to know is that, and this is all coming from Tom, so Tom, correct me if I'm wrong on your thought process, but early on, after he finished Axiom Verge 1, he's thinking about Axiom Verge 2, and there's kind of, whenever you do a sequel, there's kind of two paths you can take. You can either be like, all right, everyone liked the first one, so I'll make another one like that, but add some stuff to it and just more Axiom Verge.
Right.
Or I can kind of take all the things that, made Axiom Verge 1 special and make a new thing that also has all kinds of new and exciting things that is going to feel like a fresh experience in the same universe. So Tom decided, for a couple of reasons, to go the latter approach. The primary one being, since Tom works on this all by himself, I think he would get really bored just making the same game again.
Right.
And so So there's going to be, it's going to feel and play a lot different, but then it will also feel consistent with Axiom Verge 1. So if you liked Axiom Verge 1, I think you'll also really like Axiom Verge 2, and it will be different enough that you're not just like, I really enjoyed it. It was great for what it was, but I'm kind of done with it now.
Right.
Hopefully, it's the best of all worlds. Like, it's more Axiom Verge, but it's a very different game.
Well, I'm excited for it. The trailer got me excited. That's why we reached out to you guys. I appreciate you guys' time. Axiom Verge 2, as of right now, is late 2020, and looking forward to it. I appreciate your time, guys, for sure. Enjoy the weekend and be safe.
Thank you.
All right, you too. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. That was Tom Happ and Dan Edelman with Axiom Verge 2. Looking forward to that one. Up next, we have Real Time, where Alex and I today will go into we will be playing a game. We'll be playing the game about how to pick the one-liners that are famous out there and what movies they're attached to. And so we designed this. Was Alex, actually. Alex designed this fantastic game. And Alex, tell us a little more about it.
Yeah. So, I remember I was at an event. Somebody came up to me like, do you want to play a little quiz game on an interview? I'm like, sure. And gave me a pair of headphones. They're like, hey, listen to this and tell me what character this is. And it was awesome. The YouTube video that came from this, I believe it was P. Diddy is his name. Yes, that's his name. On YouTube and all that. But it was an awesome experience. So I want to just kind of test both of our knowledge on, movie quotes. Some of these might be a little bit gaming related, but a lot of these influence the lives that we live now, whether it's the 80s, 90s, 2000s. So I just want to test it. I have a feeling you picked hard ones. I
tried not to pick too hard.
I kind of picked ones that you might confuse what movie it's from, but you'll kind of know the actor. But I'm kind of excited for this because the team has actually helped us produce a really badass way of trying this out. And so we're just going to kick it off. I have 5 for you. You had 5 for me. I'm going to basically play the sound on the Go XLR that I had to teach you how to use, how to record voices, but it isn't an awesome feature. And so I'm going to play it, you can ask to hear it again, and then you're going to guess. I'm going to tell you if you're right or wrong. Then I'm going to show you who it is. So,
all right.
Are you ready for the first one?
Bring it. I mean, I beat you at a lot of these games. Let's see if I beat you at this one.
All right. So I'm going to play this. Let me know. And I know people, they'll know this. Well, you should know it. Let's go.
Seems somewhat familiar. Have I threatened you before?
You need me to play it again?
Do it again.
Seems somewhat familiar. Have I threatened you before?
One more time.
Seems somewhat familiar. Have I threatened you before?
Yeah.
Needed more? All right.
Seems somewhat familiar. Have I threatened you before?
Oh my God! I British accent.
I can say the line for you if you want, but
no. You know what? I don't know. I mean,
really?
It's embarrassing because I'm a movie nerd, but maybe it's the pressure. But I don't know.
It's one of the greatest lines. That is Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean Part 1 when he first meets Will Turner.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what you got.
And so here's what I tried to keep it. I tried to keep it not too hard. It's a famous line from a great movie.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
That's Robert De Niro for sure.
Okay.
He's in a lot of good movies, but I think...
Here, I'll play it again.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat.
That's an easy one, actually, because I've seen all those mobster movies. That was Heat, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And he wasn't a mobster movie. You should be docked for that.
Whatever.
He wasn't a mobster
they were all the mobster movie. Look at it. He looks like a mobster with a coffee cup.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's a great line. I've used that line myself since high school, for God's sake. So, yeah. What do you got next?
Right. So, next one. This should be easy, but I have a feeling you're going to confuse the movie. You ready?
I need a vacation.
Oh, son of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do it again.
I need a vacation.
I want to say Kindergarten Cop. Kindergarten. You know what? I'm just going to go with it. Kindergarten Cop.
Wrong. Terminator 2 at the very end.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
After his face is turned off and the son, Edward Furlong, saves him and stuff, and they're done, and he's about to go burn himself to death. But you know what? One of my favorite lines ever is Kindergarten Cop is like, "Who is your daddy and what does he do?" So yeah, I'm up 2. All right, this is awesome.
I mean,
you're up 1 at least. Yeah.
Maybe it's the pressure, but all right, ready? Here's what I got. Here's mine next.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
Oh, dude. Anchorman. But shit, was that Will Ferrell? Play it one more time?
Yeah, but can you get points for naming who it is, right? Who said it?
Say one more time.
I got it. Here it comes.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works
Oh,
every
duh.
time.
Paul Rudd, Ant-Man. So
I'm a big Anchorman fan, man. I'm an even bigger Paul Rudd fan. So
I forgot his name, but I'm surprised he didn't do like this is Sex Panther. Remember the Sex Panther
yeah.
when he's showing off all his colognes in the office? So
it's funny because these are all lines I actually use. That's why I actually picked them, just as a disclaimer.
well, this came out after you met your wife, so this line wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So
all right, bring it. I'm in the mood to get. I'm in the mood to get one right.
You forget I worked at Blockbuster Video for 2 years, but these are all around that time frame. All right, so here's the next one. I have a feeling if you didn't know the other two, you're not getting this one. Ready?
Sorry, boss, but there's only two men I trust. One of them's me, the other's not you.
One more time.
Sorry, boss, but there's only two men I trust. One of them's me, the other's not you.
So, okay, for interest of time, I'm going to rush this, and I think it's Nicolas Cage.
Actually, yes. What movie?
Raising Arizona. Oh, Con Air, shit!
Con Air. We'll give you that one. You're on the right path. Let's keep you in the game. What's your next one?
I named the actor, and I'm like, is that Raising Arizona? Yeah. Con Air? So yeah. Okay.
Jerry Bruckheimer was good.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep.
All right, yours.
That was good. All right, ready?
Yeah.
This is a quick one.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
Shoot, actually,
no one.
I know the voice, but not a clue what movie. That's Will Ferrell, isn't it?
Yep, Will Ferrell.
Okay. I don't know the movie though. I don't know what it could be.
All right, Blades of Glory. Blades of Glory.
Of all the movies, man, are you just picking comedies? Like of all the movies?
No. It's funny because I actually say that a lot of times when someone says no one knows what it means, but that was actually one of the only funny lines in the movie.
The movie was good with Owen Wilson. Oh, that's why I picked it. Owen Wilson. You were on that set too with his dog.
Wasn't in that, man.
Yeah, they're one of the Wilsons. Who was the other skater?
It was the Napoleon Dynamite guy.
Oh, that's right. My God.
Points for that. Jesus Lord. All right, go to the next one.
All right, next one. Here you go. I'm going to play it.
The Lord tells me he can get me out of this mess, but he's pretty sure you're fucked.
This is an easy one, man. This is one of the biggest classics of all time.
The Lord tells me he can get me out of this mess, but he's pretty sure you're fucked.
I got nothing, man. I got nothing.
Braveheart. How do you not know Braveheart? And that was like the crazy guy that was helping Mel Gibson's character.
That's
Braveheart.
Okay, so this one I'm actually embarrassed about because I watched this movie like 60,000 times.
Oh my! It's one of the greatest lines.
And I actually love this character. So I failed. So okay,
God, you're horrible at this game.
We'll move on.
All right, what do you got?
All right, ready?
Yeah.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Oh, Kevin Spacey, right?
Yeah, but what's the movie?
Usual Suspects. That's an easy one. That was at the time when I worked at Blockbuster Video, so I know that one. Come on, dude.
I love that line, man. It's such a powerful line.
These are kind of like huge movies, but not super iconic. But they're like not B-rated, but they're not the summer blockbusters I was expecting.
I was trying to stay away from, like I said, I was trying to stay away from the yippee-ki-yay of Die Hard and stuff like that.
Right. Well, hopefully you get this one. I'll give you a hint. This is a bad guy because you need all the help you can get right now. You ready?
Oh my God!
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
This is Joker, Batman.
You ever dance with the devil?
All right.
Hold on, Joker, Batman, Jack Nicholson. 3 points right there.
All right, you got it. All right. So yeah, I think I'm probably up like 20-0 right now. But what's your last one?
One more.
All right.
Got one more. All right. This one is a cult following. Ready?
You gotta tear me apart, Lisa.
You better know this.
They remade that, The Room, with that one John, freaking something with Sow or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's an easy one.
That was an easy one, but that's like a cult following, man. It's just like, how do you not know that one?
I never saw the original. I only saw the one with what's his face from Spider-Man. God dang it.
Oh, James Franco.
Yeah, James Franco. I didn't see the original.
I'm naming these things, and I should get points for it. So You win. I'll give you are the master. I cracked under pressure, although I've seen all those movies and I
We got
should
to
have
do this
known.
at a DreamHack though, with just a bunch of people or our own staff and just see.
Oh
So, but
yeah, absolutely.
fun game.
I would love to. But yeah, all right, you win. We're good. So that was a
Blockbuster
fun
guy survives.
that was a fun segment. My movie knowledge was challenged and I lost. So good job under pressure, Bailey.
Thank you, thank you.
It's 1-1 now. You won one thing, I won one
Who
thing. So we get
chooses
a
Blades of
tiebreaker.
Glory? Seriously. All right.
All right. Well, up next we have versus. Versus is where we just bring up competitive topics. It could be console wars, it could be esports related. It doesn't matter. This is where we try to save the most heated discussions in the kind of competitive space of this segment. And with that, we bring in JV, our competitive correspondent. How are you, JV?
I'm well, y'all. I'm surprised that it took so long for y'all to get the Blades of Glory quote because it's also in one of my favorite rap songs as well. So come on.
Which rap song? Who sung it?
Jay-Z and Kanye.
Oh, okay.
It was off
So-
of.
Are we ready to talk Halo?
Oh, I guess so. I guess so. It is.
I
the
mean, we
main
can talk
event.
Jay-Z and Kanye. But I don't know if they're in Halo.
They could be in the next one. Actually, Halo has had a lot of really interesting cameos. One of my favorite shows of all time is Firefly, and you can actually hear a lot of the actors in Firefly play as Marines in Halo throughout the franchise. It's actually really cool. Really
That'll
cool.
be a segment we will visit next time. We will visit best cameos, and we will bring in Jay-Z, the cast of Firefly, and Kanye. But first up, though, let's go into the weaponry. Halo was a big part of the Xbox showcase, as obviously, why wouldn't it be? Of course, we're all Halo fans here, all of us. We've all played them all, and we've had topics, conversations around weapons and maps and all that stuff. So we're going to go into some of those now. The first one is weapons. So JV, you lead this. What is your pick and why?
All right. I went with, for my favorite, not the best. Hear me out. I see all the folks that are in the comments right now saying pistol, Halo CE, best weapon, 3-shot headshot, hands down. For my favorite weapon, it's got to be the energy sword in Halo 2 specifically. Specifically Halo 2 because there was the thing where if you switched between a sword and another weapon, say like a rocket launcher, and you put in the inputs quick enough, you could actually sword lunge throughout the map, literally from one end of the map to the other if you were quick enough with it, and the reticle would sync up the right way. Super cool, super fun. My cousins and I had a ton of fun doing like these long distance just lunge contests, these joust contests, if you will. Super fun.
Same for me.
Really?
I mean, yeah, energy sword, man. Because every time you play the game, like get the sword, get the sword. So and then lunging, you could also do would capture the flag and throw the flag, pick it up. So there's a lot of cool little quirks that Halo has had, but just energy sword was just such a badass weapon at the time. Other games had like melee weapons and such, but the fact that the energy sword just looked badass graphically, you had fun with it. Arbiter was the first character to actually introduce it within the gameplay itself. It was such a cool weapon.
You know what? I'm in the minority on this one because I mean it kind of makes sense that you guys would pick something superficial in terms of like, oh, it looks cool, like the lightsaber type approach. Me, because of the way my brain works, I'm going to pick something a little more strategical,
The hammer?
and I'm going to go with the pistol. It's well rounded. It doesn't look fancy, but you know what? It doesn't need to look fancy. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you guys picked something that looks fancy. I'll put my money on a pistol versus a sword any day.
I mean, everyone's least favorite weapon was definitely the needler. We always made fun of that weapon.
Whoa, hang on. I will allow no needler, just downright disgusting.
All right, so the next section of this chat.
Hell no. Needler was fun as hell. What the heck?
Okay,
it was memorable, but that was it.
So moving on, because I mean, if there is a winner or loser, I mean, the pistol probably won that one, right?
Yeah.
Pistol always wins.
No,
See,
yeah,
pistol
I mean, in a match maybe, but
In
you're
part
right.
one, yeah.
The sword looks fancier. So let's go to maps, right? I mean, maps are very, very crucial in Halo. It's one of the things that people really look at Halo for because their map designs are so fantastic. They have some of the best map designs, I think, in multiplayer, period. And let's start with you, JV. What is your pick? Better not be something superficial again. Better be a good one.
No, I went with Lockout in Halo 2. That map is super fun. I love the fact that it's kind of it's similar but not symmetrical, right? Like there's two towers that are kind of similar, but they both have different properties. One of them slightly more elevated, which makes it a bit of a better sniping perch. But the downside of it is that there's the fuel coils that's right behind where the sniper is. So if you're not careful, somebody from across the map can shoot it once, and then there goes the sniper. It's got great verticality to it. It's a ton of fun. This was honestly a really hard choice for me too, just because, like you said, Halo really is known for some phenomenal maps.
Mhm.
But if I had to pick just one, I think Lockout's where it's at.
Yeah, and I went with the original. Hang 'em High was one of my favorite maps playing in college. Like the amount of hours I put into this game, but again, like you guys were saying, so many maps from Halo are memorable compared to all these other FPSs we've been playing over the years. And just Hang 'em High, it wasn't balanced. Like if you had the higher ground, you were going to win almost 90% of the time. But the fact that when you're on the ground level playing with just handguns was just a cool feeling. It almost felt like a paintball map. And just hanging low and just going after each other. So I thought Hang 'em High was probably the most memorable one for me.
So it's ironic because here I am saying, "Oh, the sword is superficial. Everyone loves the sword, blah 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 blah." And I picked something, in my opinion, that's probably superficial for maps, and I picked Blood Gulch. I mean, Blood Gulch is always. I mean, at least when I used to play as religiously as I did, Blood Gulch was always a huge go-to. And
Yeah.
I remember destroying people in Blood Gulch from like just across the map, and there was no better feeling than destroying people from that such a distance with a rocket launcher, something to where you're just like, yeah, that was me waving at them like a mile away. Because there weren't many maps that did that back then. I
And the
mean,
Warthog, right? You always wanted to drive
yeah,
around on that map
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what did you have back then during that Blood Gulch kind of? You had maybe Battlefield. Battlefield that had those maps that were so far apart and with those vehicles and stuff like that. So there weren't many. There weren't tons of maps that focused on this kind of huge gap. And so I still love Blood Gulch to this day.
Yeah,
So
I think Blood Gulch is important, even if we're talking about media associated with Halo, right? Like the series Red versus Blue. A big
mhm,
majority of
yep.
that takes place
Yeah.
in the world of Blood Gulch because it's such a vast, empty area. And for me, I felt like Lockout was my favorite to compete in. But if I was just messing around with friends, Blood Gulch was awesome,
Yeah.
especially Halo 1 with the indestructible warthogs. You just get a group of friends and see how many sticky grenades you can put on one warthog and see where it goes. Ah, memories.
Absolutely.
All
I
this
mean,
talk, we got to have a game night with each other and just play it on PC again.
anytime. I mean, actually, here's a fun fact, and then we'll move on to the next category. So I was trying to teach my wife how to play, and that was a disaster. But she the only thing she could do, like like she got it right every time, and it was always an accident, was throw sticky bombs at my face. And literally, she didn't know how to work the sticky bombs, and she thought she was helping me for the longest time, and then she just kept killing me. Ever since then, she's not allowed to play a video game, but that actually is what happened. Um, so moving on to best map. Sorry, best story. So I'll go first in this one because I'm really a big on well-written stories, and I know Halo stories for the most part are pretty solid. But Halo Reach was a beautiful thing, man. I mean, spoilers by now, yeah, I'm sure, but Halo wasn't a story. It was a tragedy, you know? And it was just well done. And still to this day, that ending is just phenomenal. I remember when I played it trying to like just hold everyone off. I'm like, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it. And no matter what you did, you're not gonna make it, but you still damn well wanted to try. So I think that one absolutely hands down for me was the favorite story.
And then for me, Halo 2, just because they switched up when you can play as an elite from the Covenant as Arbiter. And just the sound design, just everything about Arbiter in that game felt awesome. The energy sword usage and stuff like that. So just Halo 2 was a great sequel to the first one. And Reach was also actually, that's my second choice as well. But just the fact that it split up the story and you can play as two different characters within a first person shooter was what kind of made it exciting for me. It changed it up from the first one. So, and then was Halo 2? God, I'm forgetting this. Did it have online co-op? Was that the first Halo to have it?
Dude, who has Alzheimer's now, man?
Yeah, I do, obviously, but
Don't be making fun of me. Halo 2 was the first. Yeah, it
it
changed
had
online gaming,
but
man.
yeah. So an Xbox Live account. What's your Xbox Live tag? What was your original one?
I'm not giving you any of my information.
All right, so JV, what about your favorite story?
All right. You know, to be honest, I'm with you on the Halo 2 train in regards to my favorite one. I have just literally picked Halo 2 for everything that I felt I needed a little bit of diversity in my pick. But Reach is right up there. It really is a coin flip for me between Halo 2 and Reach, and this time I decided to go with Reach. I felt like the story, even though you didn't get to play as Chief, it was really good, giving a ton of backstory in regards to what the events were that made it so Master Chief could do what he had to do, right? Um, I thought that the characters were really interesting. You know, even though this is our first game with them, you feel really attached to them as well as the entire squad. And so, what inevitably happens to all of them, you feel the impact of
Yep.
that, definitely. And on top of that, it also boasts one of the best soundtracks in the entire series as well. Definitely love jamming out to that whenever I'm getting some work done and things like that. It's super solid from a story standpoint.
JV, your respect just went here. I mean, Jebailey's is always low, but your respect just, I mean, that was amazing.
I don't need your respect.
So let's finish this off with best overall. And for my pick, I just tried to pick something well-rounded, right? It didn't necessarily excel in any of the things that we're discussing. I mean, it wasn't like didn't win to me best map, best, but it did everything to the next tier, well-rounded. Like, and for me, that's an easy pick. Halo 3. Halo 3 just brought up each level, brought up multiplayer to the next level, brought up the maps to the next level, brought up the weapons to the next level, had a solid story. It was just probably the most well-balanced Halo in terms of, hey, this is one of those holy shit franchises, pay attention. And I mean, yeah, so Halo 3 is for me the best overall.
Halo 1, just because my favorite story was back in college before there was Xbox Live. Halo 1, you could LAN it with a lot of people. You LAN up to, I believe, 16 at the time. And we were in a neighborhood at my friend's place where the entire apartment complex by the UCF College, University of Central Florida, was on the same like router at the office. Like, it was the most janky hookup. But anybody with an Xbox that was on that wired network could connect to anyone else in the neighborhood. So we were getting full-on 16-man LAN battles within the apartment complex, and people would go to the clubhouse, be like, all right, guys, Halo time, go to their apartments and just play. You have like 2 people in one place. So that was why it was great for me. Halo 2 will always be a sore spot for me because I went to a Blockbuster Video at the time that had a tournament, and if you won Halo, if you won the tournament, you got a copy of Halo 2 for free. I was almost robbed at knife point for the copy of Halo 2 I just won. It's like, yeah, I don't want to play this anymore. Like, I'm not even, I wish I was joking. This is also by UCF, but I love the fact that they brought it back with Anniversary Edition, the Master Chief Collection, and just will always revisit 1 as my favorite because, you know, it always felt like a slower game movement-wise compared to Call of Duty's, all that stuff, but you just have so much fun with it because if you're getting shot, you still have a chance to fight back and retaliate. So the Halo 1 series will always be #1 for me. And Infinite, you know, real quick about the story. Infinite looks like they're going back to basics and making it an easy to follow story. So I'm very excited about the future of the storylines of Halo. But again, if 1 never happened, a lot of things would be different in the landscape of gaming.
I see what you're saying for sure, right? Halo 1 in particular, I think, is really the reason for Microsoft's success with the Xbox as a console in the early 2000s, right? But you cannot sleep on how incredible of a sequel Halo 2 was, right? I think as far as sequels go, this is ironed out as one of the best sequels ever created. And in my opinion, it's the best Halo game ever made, right? Halo itself, when it came to the scene, was so innovative, especially when it came to redefining what a first person shooter could look like on a console. And I felt like Halo 2 took that and just upped the ante. Any complaints or gripes I may have had about the first game immediately rectified by the second game with a ton of new mechanics, both intentional and unintentional, for me to have a ton of fun with both in the campaign as well as from a multiplayer perspective as well. I think that this game really excels in regards to the storyline with the campaign. Like you said, getting to play as the Arbiter, voiced by the legendary Keith David. That's always an awesome experience. Introducing dual wielding was really fun as well. And just the maps in this game. Oh, chef's kiss. Just fantastic. Honestly,
That was a
definitely agree
very
with your
passionate
sentiment.
face you made for that map.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry.
But I will say, I am hoping, Halo has had a little bit of a dip, especially in regards to how Halo Esports is, as well as Halo as a franchise worldwide. And I'm hoping with Infinite, we can get to the point that someone is willing to stab someone outside of a Blockbuster to get their
So-
hands on the copy of
Yeah.
a new Halo game.
I mean, I just hope they have Breakout. That's like the most underrated mode in a Halo game. If you remember Breakout mode, that 4v4 elimination, which
yeah.
so much fun. But yeah, go
So-
ahead.
I
Oh,
played.
no, I was just going to close it out with two little fun facts. So, I mean, obviously, we dissected some things that we loved. You know, let's go into really quick. I love fun facts, right? So, first fun fact: don't live in Florida, Jebailey. Maybe you won't get robbed by an actual person with a knife for a copy of Halo.
I'll never forget it.
Okay, just an FYI. If you
Here's
need to
the
move, I'll help
scar.
you.
No.
Let me know. And then two, this is going to be a mic drop moment, and crickets are going to happen. I've actually never landed before. That's like so wrong to say, isn't it?
Wow.
So
All respect gone. You are not a
so-
real gamer.
I've been a gamer for years. I've never landed. You know, so
This is where I take over DreamHack tonight, right? Like we're kicking Burnham off. He's locked. in the
I knew
crate.
I'd take a lot of heat. I knew I'd take a lot of heat with that, which is why I'm ending with that before I get made fun of too much. So thanks, JV. I appreciate your time, man. Let's move on to Audio.file. Today on Audio.file, we have Koven. Koven is made up of Max Rowett and Katie Boyle. They actually have done some fantastic work for many, many years, but had a debut album in March. So they've done a lot of tracks here and there, and they've been in part of Rocket League. They did a remix of Hadouken, and they've done some fantastic work. And we're welcoming her on the show today to talk about Butterfly Effect, which we have a clip for here. And please welcome Katie. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for that very, very lovely intro. That was very nice. It made me feel very
Well, you know what? I'm a fan of the album. I think it's great. Yeah, I really do. I mean,
Thank you.
timing aside, I mean, who cares? It's like, let's get the word out digitally as much as possible. And that's what we want to do too. We want to promote good music and everything like that. I mean, your vocals are phenomenal. The beats are great. I mean, and don't let the COVID thing beat you, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, not an ideal time to release music, but then at the same time, people kind of need it more now than ever because there's nothing else going on. So actually, it's turned out to be quite a good time to release music, and it was our debut album, so we put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. I think that the process from like starting the first track to finishing it was probably around 2 years. So obviously, when you put that much time into a body of work, you want it to have the best possible outcome it can do. But yeah, the response has been incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah,
super happy for you. Let's start at the beginning a little bit, right? So what launched your career? Like, how did Koven come to be? Like, how did you meet Max, and how did you guys say, hey, you know what, let's do this and create this awesome vibe and music?
So Max was already solo as the name Koven for a couple of years when he was very young. I think he started under the name Koven when he was like 17. But then he realized he really wanted to be a duo for a lot of reasons. I think to be something different, I guess, compared to so many people producing music and DJing, lots of guys doing it by themselves. So it was, I think his idea was to try and do something different with it. Also, he doesn't like the spotlight. So it's good for him to have someone who loves the spotlight. Let's go right here.
My. You'll get along great with Alex.
You're taking all the spotlight in this interview, Justin. No, anyways.
So he asked me to work with him, and I was like, absolutely. Like, I was such a fan of his music anyway. And we just work so well together. Like, I think he's incredibly talented. Like, his production skill is just like no one else I've ever met. And like, he very, very much respects what I do, and we just work really well together. So we've been working together now nearly 7 years. which is a really long time actually. It's the
That's a
first
long
time
time.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a long time.
and then basically with Butterfly Effect, that's kinda labeled as, and the reason it's 7 years, and Butterfly Effect was labeled as your debut album, right? It was labeled as your
Yeah.
debut. So what
So
motivated that album's sound, and how is it your debut after 7 years?
I know. So many people say that. Like when we were promoting it, like it's our debut album, I was like, "You guys have been around for ages. What are you talking about?" We'd actually released like I counted the other day how many tracks we've released together. We've released like 60 tracks in total. Butterfly Effect being 12 of them. So prior to that, we'd done 48 original tracks, but they were all singles, EPs. Like we never really took that risk of being like, let's do an album, because
Right.
people want music so quickly nowadays. Like there's so much of it, it's so accessible that like it's very scary to take a step back to put in that time to make an album. So that's why it was like we needed to have the right momentum, and we needed to have like the following, I guess, like the knowing the fans were going to wait for it and knowing that we had that support. So that's why it's taken so long. So even though it's our debut album, we do have 48 previous tracks you can go back and listen to.
That's amazing. Well, one of the tracks called "My Loving Gold," and you even have part of the game Rocket League, which is a huge game, and you have your own flag in that. Like, kind of tell us that partnership with Psionic and how that kind of happened.
Oh, that's incredible. If I'm honest, it's all down to the label Monster Cat, who we've released our latest album with, and then previous music with them. We've had, I think, 2 EPs with them now and a couple of singles. My Love was on one of our previous EPs, and they got that track on there, which done incredible things for us. Definitely helped with the amount of people that were hearing it. I mean, by a massive mile. So the streaming figures for that one was incredible, as well as like the new followers we've got from it. And then the same thing. So I think My Love was like 2.5 years ago, and then Gold, which is from our recent album, just went on Rocket League very recently. And again, it's just, you can literally see the numbers shoot up from a feature like that. Like you get on a game like that, and then suddenly like you're the people that then discover you. It's incredible. So yeah, I mean that was a mad opportunity for us.
Yeah. And that takes me to the next song you guys made a remix of that I also heard from a game trailer. I can't remember which one, but Levitate. You guys, were you part of the collab then when you did the Levitate, the bass remix?
I was working with Max then, but I don't do the production. So remix is like, I mean, he'll send me a few snippets and like I'll give ideas as and where I can, but I'm like the writer and the vocalist. So like that's all Max. That's all Max's genius, basically. But yeah, that's a big track.
Now, maybe you can tell me a little bit with the like collabs. When something like that happens, does Max kind of like decide the song and then produce it and then go to the original producers and go, "Hey, I made this remix," or do people in your industry kind of get permission way before they even attempt the song?
Well, some people will like make a bootleg, I guess, and then it won't be an official release, and they'll play it in the clubs, and they might send it to a few of their DJ friends. And then if it picks up a lot of traction, then they might get the permission to release it. But that one in particular, and also I think all of our remixes have all been, we've been approached to do the remix, and it's all been legit. Yeah, like the label want to do it, and it goes out. But you can do it either way, but it's better if you can do it the way where the label asks for it, because it's less messy and hopefully make some money from it.
Yeah, we know all about that in the gaming industry and Twitch streaming and using everyone else's music. So for gaming itself, right, you have, I don't know how much time you have with producing 48 tracks and everything you've done. Do you ever get to game yourself? Do you play anything?
I used to when I was younger.
Old games count.
Yeah, that's still counts.
Absolutely, you know.
I mean, how old can I go? Like
as old as you want. I mean, Alex still plays retro games. He's a big retro fan. So if you're going old school Mario, totally cool. It's fine. Yeah.
And if you know Pong, Justin knows all about Pong.
I just used to love like racing games, like so
Gran Turismo?
Like like Crash Bandicoot,
Mario Kart,
Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, Mario Kart and like Micro Machines. Like I was like obsessed with those games. Yeah. But then like I tried to play Rocket League recently, and I'm just not very good at it. And I don't have the time to get better.
Rocket League is a
So
very
my
different
favourite.
game from Rocket League is a very different game from Mario Kart and
It's
Crash.
just just
You know,
a
it's
bit,
just and
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
I played Rocket League for a little while and honestly I was good at the beginning and then once you stop playing, it has that learning curve to where all of a sudden everyone comes in and destroys you.
Yeah.
Like you got to keep playing a game like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Well, that's the thing now. You're constantly competing with people that have just got the hours, like hours and hours put
Yeah.
into it. Like people making careers out of playing games now. So like people were putting the hours in, and if you haven't got the time, you're not going to win.
So as one of the things that we want to do here is we want to educate like gamers, right? That's the whole point of this, bring in an awesome artist and kind of stuff like that. So one question I really like diving into it with artists is pretend I mean, I've listened to your stuff for a while now, so I know it wasn't technically your debut album, right? You know? So yeah. So if let's say I was a brand new listener, right? What
Yeah.
tracks do you recommend? What EP, album, whatever? What tracks do you recommend that I should be? Oh man, once I hear, I'm an automatic fan. Like these are your standout tracks that people should listen to.
God, that's so difficult because they're all so great. No joking. I don't know. Okay, so from the new album, if you like heavy stuff, Shut My Mouth is a really, really cool track. If you like really very pretty music, then Missing is very, very nice. From older stuff, we have a really cool track called Breathing Me In, which is especially like if you're maybe not someone who's massively into the dance music and you just want like a step into dance music, Breathing Me In is a good one because it's like dance pop, I guess, but like it's cool and it's like I just really like it. And then we've got another track called From the Start, which I think is a really nice one because it's really epic. Like I love epic music. I find a lot of gamers love epic music because it goes with the gaming. Do you know what I mean? Like it creates tension and builds suspense, I guess. So
epic music or the heavier stuff too. Like my favorite song is Never Have I Felt This. That's one of the songs that I actually like.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, check that one out as well.
That's a super good one. So I'm throwing my little input on that song. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to know
That
because
one,
it's very important.
Never Have I Felt This is popular with gamers. Yeah, definitely.
Nice. And then last question for me, right? So 48 tracks. When you first formed the collab, like, do you think that maybe if you didn't form it, you wouldn't be where you are now? Or did you ever expect to be where you are today after that collab happened and just producing so much since, the last 7 years? Did you ever think it wouldn't be like that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think I would have had half the opportunities I've had if I wasn't working with Max and possibly vice versa. Like, I think that he would credit me hopefully in a similar way. Like I think we complement each other in a very good way. And yeah, I mean, being successful in music is something that you hope, but you never really expect. So when you start to kind of do well, it definitely is a bit of a surprise and something that you don't take for granted. And I kind of believe that every thing that I've done on the way, and the same with Max, like every step we've taken, it leads you to a certain point. So yeah, I'd say if we weren't working together, then neither of us would be where we're at right now.
Awesome.
Very cool. So I always end with this segment because I really want to know like what's next, right? So I mean, you guys had a big tour planned after the album. Obviously, there were a lot of tours planned. So you were you were just one of many that obviously had to put.
Exactly.
But it was a big tour, and I hope that still happens. So like, what's next for you and Max right now? Whether you're at home or whether events happen again. I mean, besides us booking you for a future DreamHack, which we will when we're actually back, so don't worry about that. But what's next for y'all?
So we want to keep the album as fresh as we can. So we're going to extend on that. We're writing new stuff, but we'd like to put it out as like a deluxe version to keep Butterfly Effect going, so we can still do that tour, but like do the tour with all that music, but with new, fresh stuff as well. So we're still writing. We're constantly writing. Max is still absolutely killing it in the studio as he always does. So yeah, we're sitting nicely on a lot of new music, which is good. It's a nice position to be in. Whereas like trying to finish the album, you feel like you're trying to constantly catch up on yourself. But now we've totally caught up on ourselves and we've got music ready to go. So it's nice. We're in a good place.
Cool. Very, very cool. You know what? I appreciate your time, both Alex and I. Thank you very, very much. This was
Thank you.
This was Katie Boyle with Koven, the fantastic artist. Debut album Butterfly Effect that was in March. We'll let her get back with her day, and appreciate your time, Katie. Thanks for coming. Really, we'll work together
Thank you
soon.
for having me. Yes, lovely.
you.
Cheers, guys.
Take care. Up next, we have TMYK, The More You Know. This is where we try to educate you and hope you learn a thing or two, which is probably why I usually do the segment, because you're not going to learn a damn thing from Jebailey, but he tries, A for effort. And so with that, we actually bring you Aaron Eberhardt and Fernando de la Cruz to talk about the different types of doors a gaming degree can open up for you, whether it's game design, game programming, lots of opportunities. Welcome, Aaron and Fernando. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Oh, pleasure. I appreciate you guys making the time. I mean, I know Full Sail can keep you a very, very, very busy, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Blizzard can too, with all the titles they have and the size of the company.
Never
But
stops.
yeah, right. But thanks for being here, really. So we want to jump into it and kind of just show all the aspiring people. Like, there's a lot of people that want to enter the industry. So it's like, let's answer some of these questions if we can. I mean, who knows if we'll answer them. This kind of is geared towards both of you. So whoever can jump in kind of first. What about the game industry made you chase working in it? Like, why did you choose the degree you did? What made you go, I need to follow this path?
So my path is a little weird because when I was growing up, I actually really wanted to be an actor, and so I was super into theater. And so I was a theater geek. I was in all the plays, all the musicals, and I even went to my first year of undergrad in theater. And then I started to notice something about a lot of my friends. There's a certain stereotype of theater people being a little bit drama driven, and I started to question whether I wanted to be surrounded with that kind of drama all of my life. And so I've been playing games all my life. I was born with a controller in my hands. And so I made the very natural decision to go from theater straight into games. It's a thing that people do, right? I'm assuming that people go from theater to games.
Sure.
And one of the things that I loved about people that make games is that we tend to always want to help each other. It's something that I think drew me towards being in this industry, is that instead of being super secretive and talking behind each other's backs, we actually just want to look at people who are struggling and try to help them and lift them up, because the better all of your teammates are, the better the end product is going to be in the end anyway. So that was my path.
Couldn't agree more. Aaron, what about you?
I also grew up playing video games. I'm come from a really big family, so all of us played. I did my undergrad and got a journalism degree, so I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea how games were made. I didn't know anything about project management or production. So my kind of journey into it was sort of going to admissions. I went on the tour at Full Sail, and they explained what a producer does, what a project manager does, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. So must have worked.
Something stuff. Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
And like back in 2010, right? Like we didn't know esports would be as big as it was now. And I know Full Sail has been around for a very long time, focusing on game design, production, all that stuff. And I've actually worked with some of the guys over at Full Sail. Like back then, when you graduated and where you are now, like, did you ever think esports would be as big as it is now? And being able to use what you learned there, helping you today and get the jobs that you guys have?
Oh, holy cow. Well, I wish that we had an esports program when I was in school. That would have been awesome. I go back to the Fortress, and I'm just so jealous. It's just so awesome. But when I first moved to California a little over 8 years ago, we were going to these bar crafts, which is old school StarCraft. They were piping into a Buffalo Wild Wings. And I just remember having so much price, feeling the energy, even in just that little Buffalo Wild Wings. And it just got me hooked. And I've been a huge esports fan ever since. So it has been an absolute privilege to work on it over the past few years.
Nice. You, Fernando?
For me, I never expected it to take over the way that it has in North America. When I was a student back in the early 2000s, I remember reading articles about, almost like celebrity status figures in Asia. And I was like, well, I guess that works for them. I don't think we'll ever see that over here. And it was just apparently a matter of time, and it's been pretty incredible. And you've seen the way that Full Sail has invested in esports by building the Fortress, and it's a huge statement, and also building the Armada team and launching into collegiate esports. It's been pretty exciting to see the growth of it in North America and Europe, in all these places around the world, and I think it's fantastically exciting.
You guys kind of answer my next question about the Full Sail Fortress. You both have seen it. What do you think of that? Like, just seeing that they took out, that I think it was a bigger classroom before, and then they turned that, and they've always had the live where they have live wrestling shows there. They've done gaming events there. Like, what do you think of just your school being one of the first to kind of usher that in and have all these programs based around the Fortress?
I wasn't sure when they first announced it, but when you see the end product and you see the way that it ended up, it just blows you away. I mean, it is a quality studio. I mean, you can do some real production in there, and seeing some of the events that have been, displayed in that arena, I think it's absolutely amazing, and I think it's a draw. I think it's a draw to a lot of people that want to take their education seriously, but also are super passionate about collegiate being a collegiate athlete. Like, we have an actual path for those people now, and so I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we went back, since working with Blizzard, I went back last year to go put on the collegiate fall finals at the Fortress. And it was an incredibly surreal experience to walk into this space this is where I went to school. It looks nothing like how it looked when I was there. But now I actually get to bring a product that I worked on to the space and work with the amazing crew there. So it's been amazing. I love the Armada teams. That the kids that are on the teams are all really, really genuinely passionate about esports. They're really excited to get careers in this space. And so having this kind of wealth of knowledge at their fingertips, other Full Sail grads also in the industry and in esports, it's been invaluable for them.
Actually, I graduated from there, so the school looks nothing like it did back when I graduated, a long time ago. I'm gonna say it 2003 before anyone else makes fun of me for being the old man. I took that insult away from you, Alex.
Damn it.
But one of the things that I did when I was evaluating my degree choices, and Fernando, this is kind of more directed towards you, but please, Aaron, chime in by all means. Math scares people. And you and I were discussing this the other day. It's like, I was 100% gung ho for going into game design or, game development. And I went there, met with a counselor, and I'm like, I saw the curriculum and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm so scared. I can't do it. I have a lot of ideas, game design kind of mechanics, all those kind of things. I grasp a lot of those and I work a lot of those today, but I ran. So what did you find the most difficult in pursuing the game design degree and any of the gaming degrees? Like, what was your big moments of fear during that time you were in school?
So when I enrolled, the game design and the game development degree, they weren't two separate degrees; it was one, right? And so I was really attracted to the idea of game design. And so when I got there, I learned very quickly that this was really a programming degree. This was a C++ hardcore software engineering degree. And like halfway through the program, there was like this one game design class, right? Like that, but like otherwise, this was like a C++ in your face, like, you know, it was a giant kick in the teeth. And so the math and the programming from the game development side was terrifying. But and again, remember, I came from theater, and so I didn't do that great in math classes in high school. And whenever my parents yelled at me about it, I was like, well, I'm going to be an actor anyway. I don't need math. Lo and behold, I now am in games, and now I need that math. And all of my colleagues are acing everything, and I'm the dunce in the back corner of the room going, I don't even understand how to add two numbers together. So it was a pretty terrifying time, but it was just a matter of, okay, well, I'm here anyway, so I just had to put in the requisite number of hours to catch up, and it becomes about attitude and perseverance, and how much you want it. So that's how I got over that.
Aaron,
Yeah,
feel free to chime in too. Yeah.
For me, it wasn't the math. So I went through a project management track. We use math, but it's more contextual math. So it's percentages and how are you growing and what are your trends and,
You and I
things
are on
like
the
that.
same path. That's good.
Right, exactly. Yes, we look at more things, contextual business numbers. So it's not exactly like programming in the same way. But for me, I think the big kind of change for me was really looking at games in a completely different way. Obviously, we grew up playing games. We have our favorites, and going back and looking at them in this new lens of how was this made, or wonder what the struggles that the team went through to get this out the door. Wow, it took 6 years. Well, there's probably a reason for that, and just kind of starting to understand the quote unquote how the sausage is made. And so there's a little bit of a shock, I think, that comes with kind of seeing games in those new lenses. So that was the big mind shift that I had to go through of knowing nothing about how to make games and then coming back out the other end and just over a year having a better understanding of how the actual industry is built. So it's definitely very jarring, but I look at games completely differently now. I think for some people they said, oh well, I can't really play them the same way that I used to be able to play them. It hasn't bothered me. I still put in way too many hours every week playing games. It hasn't bothered me one bit, but you definitely look at things differently.
Which actually kind of leads me to, in terms of looking things differently and kind of seeing different perspectives. So, Aaron, I mean, specifically, your portfolio has been you jumped a lot to different verticals, right? And I find that super interesting personally because, I can relate from event producer to publisher to other, I'm project manager, bona fide and certified too, like yourself. So I understand the value of jumping to those verticals to diversify a portfolio, or sometimes it's the jack of all trades isn't looked at as powerful sometimes either. It's like it's very much back and forth, right? Was that on purpose or was that just by happenstance?
You know what? I'd like to say that there was a roadmap. Actually, my roadmap when I graduated from Full Sail was I want to be at Blizzard. Blizzard's my dream studio. So that was kind of my long-term roadmap. But how I got there, I took some time at Disney. I was at PlayStation for almost 5 years. We built PlayStation Now and launched that. And then after that is when I made it here. And that was after I had an internship that I started with. I actually have made a couple of games, kids games, many, many years ago. But yeah, I think you kind of said it when we first started. It's that curiosity. It's that what else is there out there? Esports for me, it's something I always loved casually. But now being able to work in it, the industry doesn't look like it did 10 years ago. This job that I have now probably didn't exist in the same way. So
Right.
I think having that flexibility and that curiosity, it helps take you to places that you otherwise maybe wouldn't have even known.
Yep. Right. I agree.
Awesome. And Blizzard is actually regarded as one of the major companies that you definitely want to work at some point. Which brings me to my final question from my end. Like looking back, and I always tell people I've gotten a lot of people in the industry through events. I do event organization, and a lot of people are like, how do I get into this industry? Going back, what advice would you give now that you have this experience to get to where you are now? For anybody in the younger generation that's trying to get in. Obviously, COVID's kind of put a lot of people's plans on hiatus for now, but knowing what you know now, is there anything you would tell your younger self or the new generation of people trying to get into the industry? And like, what was that secret sauce or that first opportunity that took you to where you are? Fernando, you want to go?
Whew, so it's a great question. It's a large question. So I think keeping an open mind is something that somebody has to at least consider. When I graduated, I was a bit of a brat.
Drama, you don't say.
I
Hey, you
know.
know what? You skipped the stage. You skipped the stage of denial. So there you go.
I did theater for a few years. I know how it is.
So I remember when I was graduating, I was pretty full of myself and thinking to myself, like, oh, I'm only going to accept offers from, like Retro Studios or BioWare. And then I never even got a call back from either company. And so then I was like, well, I'm willing to settle for like this company or that company. And, like I at least got callbacks from those companies, but then never got an offer. And then like that quickly humbled me to the point is like, I will accept anything for money. Like in exchange for money, I'll accept anything. So it's, I went to a smaller third-party studio. I didn't work on the games where I didn't go to school because I was thinking to myself, man, I can't wait to work on Disney princesses. That is my dream, right? That wasn't my motivating factor to go to school. But I went to an amazing company. I got to work on a lot of different amazing IPs. I got to work with really serious companies. I got to see software production from concept to completion over and over and over and over again. And I learned a tremendous amount. And that has been an incredible experience. So just be open to alternative paths because your career can be a long one and you can eventually get to where you want to be by going through some really interesting paths. Or you may find out that, you know, where you end up carving is more interesting than when you thought you wanted to go anyway. So just keeping an open mind. Don't artificially close opportunities to yourself.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'd say in the same vein, I mean, you guys are doing it right. You said COVID is really putting a damper on things. Well, there are still lots of things you can do. Start your own talk show, right? Like, there are things that you can do. And I think, having that curiosity and having that sort of persistence is really important. Just do it. Pick a school, go to school, or don't go to school. Learn what you want to learn, get some skills together. But have a path forward, have an idea of what you ultimately want to do, and be flexible while you do it. I mean, I think it's so easy to say, man, I'd love to make video games, and then take no steps whatsoever to start doing that. And so, yeah, I mean, school is a fantastic step. It launched my career. I started off, like I said, with an internship when I first graduated. I was making kids games. It wasn't exactly, what I had originally envisioned for myself, but I have enjoyed an incredible career. I work on IPs that I have grown up with and have loved for many, many years of my life. And so I just consider myself so lucky to have had just a really fun and interesting career just because I took that first step,
Well, cool. I mean, I appreciate you guys very much for your time. Much respect. I mean, I can tell you right now, dabbling in a little bit of the things that you've done, it's not easy. You know what I mean? And sticking with it is obviously a very, very important thing. Being open to the positions that like come your way, whether it is that retro or not, is super, super key because I think most people think that way coming out of a degree or coming out of something. It's like, I'm going to work for Gearbox tomorrow or Insomniac tomorrow. And it's like, guess what? You're not. You might, and I even tell my kid that sometimes he's aspiring filmmaker. I'm like, guess what? You might be getting coffees at first. You know what I mean? So it's like a door opens. Just remember that it's not the last door, the one of many.
That's
So
right.
I appreciate your all's time very much. So
Thank you.
as a Full Sail alum, I'm looking forward to coming to Florida when it's not the way it is right now.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
stay in my house, Justin.
But yeah, I look forward to coming to see the school, and I'll meet you guys in person and all that kind of stuff fairly soon. Thanks again for your time.
Can't
Appreciate
wait.
it.
Thank you.
It was a blast. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Aaron with Blizzard and Fernando with Full Sail. Up next, we have BPM. This is where we try to give you some health tips. My health tips are better than Jebailey's, and there's just proof in the pudding on that one. One day when we actually allow it out and you'll see us together, you'll get that. For now, though, we're going to show you some things like corned beef and spam and stuff like that. That's good for you. No, I'm kidding. That's not good
Yeah,
for you at all.
disclaimer, we don't eat that.
Yeah, no, yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
That's just catering from DreamHack behind the stages. No, kidding.
Yeah. That's the budget right there. That's what we can afford. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, what we're going to show you is what we do recommend to eat. Is depend on your goals, right? I mean, I do not recommend most people eating when I'm about to show because if your goal is to try muscle mass, have no neck, all that stuff, well, then yeah, by all means, eat a lunch like this. But right now, I would not recommend that unless that is your goal. So without further ado, let's show you my extravaganza plate. So this right here looks disastrous, but it's 9 eggs, turkey bacon sausage, 2 turkey bacon sausage, sriracha, garlic onion, and garlic powder.
That actually sounds delicious.
It actually is super delicious, but I mean, literally, you're
How
full
many
for a
calories
while.
is that? Have you ever counted?
No, but between the high protein, but also high cholesterol.
And now, would you eat that before or after a workout?
Oh, I eat that after a workout. No way. Too heavy before a workout. No way.
And then here's mine. Me, I like to thin out. I don't like to get bulky, even though I have a little bit of a bulk. But, I like to start out healthy, and then it's not filling enough. So I got to add in some extras. A couple Oreos. Those are the thin ones, healthier option. Some Reese's Minis, also a healthier option.
No.
A Cliff Bar for my additional protein. A Mickey Mouse chocolate cup. A Star Wars ice cream sandwich. Some dog food for good measure because it has really good crude proteins. And then enjoy. So this is how I get through my days. And then after I pig out and eat all this. This is probably around midnight. Good time to conserve all that proteins. I got to flush it all out the next morning. And I highly recommend this for all athletes. Get you some psyllium husks, baby, because that's your colon cleanser. The great finale to the meal. That's how I make it in life.
I mean, honestly, I don't know what I should comment on more, whether you're eating Reese's Pieces and some of that stuff with an actual healthy meal, it looks like on the plate.
Oh yeah.
And then you're going into your bowel movements. I mean, Jesus Lord, we didn't need to.
You can only enjoy what you put in as long as you can get it out, because that's the secret to weight loss.
Well, I hate to end on that note, but I have to because now I'm grossed out by picturing you on the toilet. But you have a final Jebailey thought for us?
My Xbox Game Pass, worth every penny. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? That's probably the most powerful thought we've actually said so far. I mean, it's
the way of content for gaming now. Enjoy. Stay home. Keep wearing a mask. I know we hate having to say this over and over again, but things are almost there. But yeah, get Game Pass.
Well, thank you for joining on the show, Alex. Do you have any kind of things you want to tell them to follow it? I mean, you like people that stalk you. I mean, come on. What's that normal stalking line? Give it to them.
I mean, you can follow Justin, but why would you, at Justin Burnham? Or you could follow at Jebailey, the greatest one name tag on Twitter, because that is my name. But yeah, just thank you to the sponsors, all the people watching. We hope you've been enjoying this. This is our 5th episode on season 1. So please give us feedback. We want to keep it going. And then also a big shout out to our sponsors, Blue Microphone right here, Simply Nook, and Razer. So thank you guys so much for helping us put on the show for everybody at home. And again, give us your feedback, and don't reach out to Justin because he doesn't even know how to log into his Twitter.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to go there. So I'm sorry. I have more things to do than that. But at the same time, enjoy the weekend. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time in the next episode. Have a good day.
Take care.